حضورنا الكريم، الآن عندنا جلسة جميلة وفيها كثير من المواضيع المهمة التي سيتم طبعاً نقدر نقول التعمق فيها، وهي بعنوان A Pioneering Role 50 Years Long Journey in Support of Islamic Finance. And please join me in welcoming the moderator of our coming session, Mr. Mohammed Hadi Maja'i, the Director Investment Department at ISDB. تحية لمستر محمد.
Finance. Yeah, Islamic finance. Yes, definitely. Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Do you like me to do another introduction? Sorry? Would you like me to do another?
New thematics such as the climate and also sustainable development and digitalization, also digital currencies, and that was highlighted in different fora actually. In the Parallel World Economic Forum happening also here in Riyadh, the first session was on digital currencies. So all of these are really factors and dimensions that impact the financial, Islamic financial system ecosystem that needs to be really tackled to move basically to a different gear to meet the demands in the market. So I am honored really to be the moderator of this session and also be part of this long journey of Islamic finance as an IDB staff. Our distinguished speakers today, we have Dr. Sami Swelem, a veteran of Islamic finance and prominent economist. He's heading our Islamic Institute, IDBI. He will deliver a welcome statement and provide us with an overview of what the group is doing in this space. Also, we have a distinguished speaker, Dr. Ghayath Sabsik, who is in high demand. He will deliver, he's newly appointed as Secretary General of IFSB, which is one of the regulatory body and an important pillar of the Islamic finance ecosystem. He will deliver a keynote and reflect on the journey of Islamic finance, the lesson learned, and touch on the market potential. That will be further developed by the panelists afterwards. We have Mr. Ufuk Bey, who is a seasoned CEO, and he has been in Islamic banking for so many years, and today he heads Kuwait Turk Bank, one of the banks in which IDB has invested in, and today is the first participation bank in Turkey to share basically the journey of really that Katibi went through and what lessons learned are derived from there and how he sees the market potential. We have also Wasim, who is the founder and CEO of the first digital bank in UAE. He will talk about the journey of establishing the bank and also the disruptive nature of digital banks in the Islamic banking sector and globally in general. So I call on Dr. Sami to deliver the welcome statement and share basically the insights about IDB role in Islamic finance.
Thank you very much, Brother Al-Hadi, and being part of the Islamic Development Bank Group, I would also welcome our guests and participants and keynote speakers. The Islamic Development Bank was established in 1975. At that time, there were no Islamic banks. The only other Islamic bank was Dubai Islamic Bank that was established also in the same year. So for all practical purposes, the Islamic Development Bank was the first, and there were no previous or prior experience that would, guide the bank into this Sharia-compliant financial systems, instruments, policies, and procedures. The first application of murabaha to finance trade between member countries was conducted by the Islamic Development Bank. This was, I think, in 1976 or 77, for which Dr. Ma'bad al-Jarihi, who subsequently became one of the directors of the Islamic Research and Training Institute, managed. And that was one of his key achievements, for which he won the ISDB Prize for Islamic Economics and Banking. There are many firsts that the Islamic Development Bank has done. Now, the people now have the perception that the bank is a highly complex bureaucratic organization, obviously because, first of all, it's AAA, there are many restrictions on the nature or the kind of activities it will take. Yet, the bank was pioneering in many dimensions. As I said, the first murabaha transaction took place within the ISDB, the Islamic Development Bank. The Islamic Development did not only pioneer transaction. The sukuk in the early 20s were pioneered by the Islamic Development Bank, and many other firsts were done within the bank. But the bank, the leadership of the Islamic Development Bank was visionary, was and still, of course, visionary. They created an ecosystem, as Brother Al-Hadi has indicated. So the infrastructure institutions, like for example, the accounting and auditing organizations of the Islamic financial institutions, was pioneered by the Islamic Development Bank and other partners, obviously. The General Council for Islamic Banks, and obviously the Islamic Financial Services Board, the International Islamic Financial Market, and other infrastructure institutions that develop the necessary foundations in terms of accounting standard, regulatory standards, and other important ingredients for the ecosystem itself. So the ISDB wasn't only pioneering in transactions, in products and instruments, but also in creating the industry. Now, just to give a quick example, when Apple created or produced the iPhone, they had a vision. They, at the same time, created the App Store. Why? Because they wanted to create an ecosystem for the iPhone and subsequently for the iOS in general. That's a vision of creating an industry rather than simply creating a product. Now, there is another company that I will not mention its name. They want to do everything in-house. They want to own everything by themselves, and they want to have control over everything. These are two different approaches. We are proud that the Islamic Development Bank took the first approach, the approach of not only leading by example, but also contributing substantially to the ecosystem, to the environment. And not to mention, of course, the ISDB was also pioneering in establishing Islamic banks themselves. So you can see it's a whole spectrum from in-house products and instruments to infrastructure institutions to market players, not only Islamic banks, but also the International Islamic Rating Agency and other market players. Now, all these initiatives were successful, that could be a point of argument. But there is nothing wrong to take a leading initiative and have some failures. The failure is not a problem. The problem is not taking, the biggest failure is not to take the initiative in the first place, not to feel the responsibility of leading the establishment of the industry. Thank you very much, Mr. Hadi.
Thank you, Dr. Sami. Now I move on to Dr. Ghais to give his statement. Thank you.
Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, our host, Dr. Salim, moderator and esteemed panelists, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, and good afternoon to all of you. It is both an honor and a great pleasure to be here today with you to commemorate a very significant milestone in the remarkable journey of the IDB. It is truly remarkable. So we gather here today to celebrate 50 years of unwavering, that's what I call unwavering commitment of the IDB to the development of the Islamic financial services industry. So congratulations to the IDB on its 50th anniversary. Congratulations to the IDB on its support in building up the Islamic finance industry, as we've seen. But this is also a moment of reflection on the remarkable progress achieved so far, but also on the challenges that lie ahead. The inception and development of Islamic finance over the last 5 decades has been a testament really to the resilience and adaptability of the industry. What began as a simple vision to align financial instrument with the beliefs of those who want financial instruments that are in conformity with Sharia, that was a simple vision. This has evolved into a very robust, dynamic, and fast-growing Islamic financial system that we have seen that is increasingly integrated into the global financial landscape. This remarkable journey, as we've just heard, is started by few scholars, economists, and pioneers of industry in the 1950s and 60s who laid the foundation, the conceptual foundation, at least, of this industry going forward. Now, after that, in the 1970s, that was really a transformative decade for Islamic financial services industry. It was marked by significant events and milestones that contributed to the establishment, expansion, and formal recognition, as we see today, of the Islamic financial industry. Most importantly, it marked the IDB establishment of the Islamic Development Bank. This was a landmark. Why it was a landmark? Because it signaled, it was a signal, it was an explicit signal to the whole world that about the commitment of the IDB members of the Islamic Development Bank to pursue development projects that align with Islamic values, including the prohibition of interest on loans. The subsequent decades since then brought strong growth, innovation, institutional development within the industry. It also brought, importantly, regulatory attention from national authorities, but also from supranational organizations, IMF, World Bank, and name it. It also led to the establishment of global financial, Islamic financial infrastructure, institutions. These are standard-setting bodies for the industry. And let me clarify here, these bodies do not intend to issue standard to replace international standard. This is very important. They don't issue a separate standard. What they do is issue standards that complement international standards, where international standards are silent or inadequate to capture the specificities and unique characteristics of Islamic finance. So that's clear. Where we are right now with the industry, let's be very clear. This would not have happened without the IDB. The IDB was the cornerstone of all of that. This includes playing a pivotal role in the support of the industry, in establishing the institutions, including the institutions I'm heading right now, the Islamic Financial Services Board. This is for the prudential standards. The IOFI, this is for the accounting standard. The IIFM, which is the Islamic Financial Market Organization. This is for market documentation standards. For SIBAFI, which is the group that represents the industry globally. And the ILLM, which is the Global Liquidity Market Corporation. Each one of them is playing a very distinct role, complementing each other, supporting the industry growth. In the private sector, no one can question the commitment of the IDB and the pivotal role they played through direct investment, technical assistance, and policy support to these institutions when they needed it most. Over these 5 decades, Islamic financial services industries has seen remarkable growth, evidenced by the proliferation of the institutions, the introduction of new products and services that are in line with Islamic financial principles, the adaptation of legal and regulatory regimes. This was clearly important across all jurisdictions to support the industry. But they also have witnessed significant development in terms of structures and markets. Core markets for Islamic finance now have depth, have breadth in terms of products and deliverables, in terms of meeting preferences, and as well as in terms of having the proper infrastructure in place. We also see significant demand and rapid growth for Islamic financial products in a new market that we haven't seen before. We see rapid growth in Africa. We see rapid growth in the Central Asian region. A few years from now, they will become core markets as well, as we expected. Now, the lessons, importantly, an important topic that we have seen significant progress on it is establishing what we call a level playing field for the Islamic financial institutions. They were undercut by not having the proper regulation to support them, but proper laws to support them. That has changed considerably over the years. Now, as we consider this journey over the past 5 decades, its significant transformation, we have also to look at the lessons that we learned. The industry has demonstrated so far significant resilience during times of global financial crisis. Its ability to weather economic storms and maintain stability. However, this development has been uneven. We have concentration in core markets, less so in other markets. The implementation of standards, the changes of laws and regulations are not even. They vary quite a lot across jurisdiction. And this is an important challenge going forward. The lessons learned underscore the importance of strengthening and harmonizing national regulatory regimes, including by implementing the standard developed by the standard-setting bodies for the Islamic financial industry. These standard-setting bodies are your standard-setting bodies. If the authorities are not implementing them, they are not adopting them, they are undercutting their own industry, the growth of the Islamic financial industry in their own market. But it's important also to foster resilience and investors' confidence at the global level. Some challenges and gaps persist, and effort must be intensified to enhance consistency in the implementation of international standards, to foster consistent regulatory regimes and environment that support Islamic finance industry across jurisdictions. So this is while the growth has been remarkable, noteworthy, it is important to acknowledge opportunities and challenges that lie ahead. The industry holds significant potential to evolve into new markets against the backdrop of changing market dynamics, technological advancement, and shifting consumer preferences. However, these opportunities come with new challenges, particularly in managing emerging risks in financial stability. That include the prevailing macroeconomic and geopolitical environment, changing risk dynamics, and structural shifts brought about in the transition to digital economies and increased frequency of extreme climate events. All of those pose important challenges and potential risks. While the Islamic finance system has shown resiliency so far, we should not be complacent. It is critical to proactively, it is incumbent actually, on the industry and their regulators and supervisors to proactively manage potential risks and vulnerability and address remaining gaps. The joint effort of policymakers, regulatory and supervisory authorities, and financial institutions have laid the good ground going forward. However, more need to be done to further strengthen the resilience. Risk management, in particular, having proper risk management framework going forward is critical. And as we deal with the complexity of uncertainty in the global economy, strong and well-functioning financial system, financial safety nets, and crisis preparedness are more crucial than ever. And that also applies for Islamic financial institutions. Very few countries have these safety nets for Islamic financial institutions in place. And that's a critical gap for the industry. So, to conclude, as we navigate this challenging environment, international cooperation and coordination are essential to manage disruption and foster financial stability. Moreover, importantly, by adhering to the fundamental principles of Islamic finance and focusing on resilience and human capital, the Islamic financial services industry can grow stronger and better to adapt and to meet the demands and the demand of this dynamic landscape. This will firmly ensure what we call, going forward, the mainstreaming of Islamic finance in the global financial system. On this note, I would like to once again congratulate the IDB on its 50th anniversary and its enduring commitment to the development of the Islamic financial industry. And I would like also to thank them for giving me this opportunity to address this distinguished audience. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you, Dr. Ghaith. I think they are arranging a photo of the panel. Yes. So Dr. Ghaith traced basically the journey of Islamic finance and the challenges. We will take a group photo because he has to run to a session on the other side, and then we start the question panels. Thank you. Thank you for your patience. So we start now with the first round of questions to the panelists. I will start with first question to Mr. Ufuk Bey to tell us a bit more on the Katibi journey, its establishment within a Turkish context, and all, I think, the dimensions that it went through, whether in terms of dealing with the regulator or the business. And then what are really the key milestones in this journey? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hedi Mejai. I am honored and privileged to address such an esteemed audience and distinguished participants while celebrating 50 years of Jubilee of IDB in the field of Islamic finance. I hope the discussions will be fruitful for our industry today. Kuwait Türk Participation Bank, yani we refer the Islamic banks in Turkey as participation banks, meaning participation to profit and loss of the investor. So we were established 35 years ago in 1989 with a major participation shareholding from Kuwait Finance House, now one of the leaders of Islamic finance as a bank in the world. And they have 62.2% share with us. Second shareholder is Turkish Evkaf Directorate, government, 18.8%. And third is Public Institution for Social Security Kuwait, 9%. Again, this is a government entity. And IDB, 9%. We were established with this type of shareholding. Over the years, Kuwait Türk Participation Bank has grown to become a key player in Turkey, in Turkish banking sector. Now we are the 10th largest banks in Turkey with respect to total assets, and first among the participation banks. As we look back over this journey, Kuwait Türk has consistently focused on adhering Islamic principles. Let me give you an example at the start of my speech that will clarify our successful operations in Turkey. When Kuwait Türk was founded, the environment was not suitable for participation banking. In fact, at that time, participation banks were excluded from banking law and gained bank status in the following years. Despite these difficulties, our business model enabled to adopt a differentiation policy. And contrary to the conventional banking practices at that time, we did not receive account maintenance fee, for example. Just as an example, from our clients from the very beginning, because it was prohibited Islamically. Now we are one of the top 2 banks with highest current accounts, and 50% of our total 50% of our total accounts are current accounts. Nowadays, as an inflationary environment, you can imagine the benefits you can derive from such an important account structure. So, Clients are rewarded as us because of adhering to the Islamic banking principles. We gradually we became gradually as a Kuwait Finance House group approach to our business model. Today, Kuwait Türk has 10 subsidiaries and serves in wide range of financial services, including asset management, investment, tekaful, information systems, and pension funds. So we have 10 subsidiaries now as a leading Islamic bank in Turkey. As milestones, as you mentioned, let me give some of them the milestones. Kuwait Türk is one of the Kuwait Türk is the significant milestone is the introduction of first sukuk in Turkey in 2011. We strived a lot to bring the sukuk regulation into effect, and the first issuance of Turkish sukuk was done, and it took 10 years, in fact. Thanks to His Excellency Mehmet Şimşek, the Prime Minister, the Finance Minister, he was here 2 days ago. He has succeeded to pass the sukuk law in Turkey at that time, and the first sukuk issued by Kuwait Türk at that time, and also the Treasury issued afterwards the first sukuk of Turkey. In fact, we started at the same time with Malaysia, but it took 10 years to finalize the sukuk issuance. Now, the sukuk industry came to 400 billion lira level of volume. Now it is being utilized in liquidity management, corporate finance, and regulatory tools to govern participation banks in Turkey. As Kuwait Türk, we attach great importance to providing financial support to sustainable projects in the field of renewable energy, especially rooftop solar power plants. A significant portion of solar power plants installed in Turkey are covered by projects financed by Kuwait Türk. In this respect, we had issued the first green sukuk subordinated Tier 2 sukuk of Turkey in 2021 with a landmark issuance of $350 million, which was 12 times oversubscribed and one of the lowest borrowed long-term debt of Turkey at that time. As a second milestone and innovation, I should mention our success in gold banking. Understanding cultural importance of gold in Turkey, we developed services that let customers buy, sell, and save gold in ways that fit Islamic banking practices. This has not only broadened our customer base, but also reinforced our reputation as an innovative and customer-focused bank. During the last 10 years of its launch, we have brought into economic use nearly 30 tons of scrap gold. The positive feedbacks we have received from our customers, thanks to the services we provide in this field, shows that the strategy we have implemented was correct. I think these are enough for the milestones, just not to take too much time.
Thank you, Ufuk Bey. Thank you. We will come back to follow-on question afterwards. Brother Mohammed Wasim, you were founder of the first digital bank in UAE. So these digital banks are perceived as disruptors of the industry. Also, I think they bring an opportunity as well at the same time, and a challenge really to perhaps upgrade and have a better customer experience as a customer of an Islamic bank. If you can just trace the journey of establishing such a bank and what are the key milestones with the audience. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Vijay. I'm honored to be amongst the distinguished guests. I'll just give a brief history about the bank. I'm going to make it a bit entertaining, more interesting. So the bank was established in 2021. It's regulated by the UAE Central Bank. The idea is to launch the first digital bank. And the experience started with the architectural design of the bank. The architecture is built around the application, unlike conventional banks, which is conventional banks are built around the core banking, and the core banking connects to other systems, then an omni-channel, and the omni-channel connects to the outside world through applications, internet banking, branches, ATMs, etc. So the bank was established through a digital platform that connects with the e-government. So we have in UAE the e-government, and we made opening of an account as easy as it could get. So it's 5 minutes. And the experience of that product, which is a simple opening of an account in 5 minutes and getting your card to be tokenized on your Apple Pay or Samsung Pay, made us reach to open a monthly of 15,000 accounts and reaching to 250,000 accounts in 2 years. That's 2.5 of the bankable universe, and accordingly being able to break even in 2 years, where Ernst & Young feasibility was estimating a 5 years break-even point. That's from the digital customer experience. It was definitely very easy to get the product. We had some challenges to start with. As you know, digital banks operate through cloud-based services, which allow efficiency, scalability, and also a strong cybersecurity, unlike other models of IT infrastructure. So we were the first to comply with NESA, which is the National Electronic Authority in the UAE. And today also we are participating in the new setup and regulation of blockchain and AI. And this is a bit of a summary. If you would like, I can dwell more about how we are using blockchain to accelerate the growth of finance in the UAE.
Thank you, Brother Wasim. Perhaps now I will move on to Dr. Sami with a question. I mean, he have listened to the speech of Dr. Ghaith and the intervention of both panelists. And also, as I have highlighted, I mean, there are voices really that are calling for really an overhaul of the Islamic ecosystem. And today we have talked about the journey of the 50 years. So what's next? I mean, how do you see really the industry evolving? What are the priorities you can see for the next 5-10 years? Really to I would say, adapt this ecosystem to the new imperatives and thematic, as I have highlighted. There are many calls for energy transition, and actually there is in parallel a session and an important symposium on energy transition and sukuk and the role of MDBs in this space, as well as really the coming of artificial intelligence, cryptocurrencies, and so on. All of these are dimensions that need to be somehow integrated in the ecosystem. And also from an operational perspective, I'm sure there are many Islamic banks here and many heads of investments. We can feel sometimes really the boundaries and restrictions when we want really to do transactions, because the guidelines and the norms that are in place, whether from a Sharia side or from a risk management side and so on, are very much restrictive, and perhaps they need really to be kind of looked at differently. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you again, Brother Hadi. It became clear over the years that the finance industry cannot operate independently of the real economy. That was the main lesson of the global financial crisis in 2008. that crisis emerged exactly after all regulations were relaxed, or most regulations were relaxed. The Congress was dominated by Republicans. The administration, the US administration, was also Republican, and they did everything. You cannot imagine the number of acts that the Congress passed to reduce the regulatory constraints on the financial industry. And that was years, that was developing over several years before the crisis. So it wasn't just, it wasn't 1 or 2 years, no. So the global financial crisis emerged in a completely, so to speak, finance-friendly environment, in the sense that minimum restrictions, minimum regulations, minimum supervision, minimum everything. So no one can blame the government or the authorities or the regulators for the crisis. The crisis was the natural result of the lack of proper regulation. And that was something quite obvious after the fact. After the fact, it became obvious. Before that, of course, it wasn't. Everyone was, this musical chair party, and when the CEO of, at the time, of Citibank was asked how long this bubble or this, mortgage, subprime mortgage bubble will go on. He said, well, as long as the music is on, we will keep dancing, and the music is still on. Until the music turned off, and then everyone rushed to find a chair, but there were too many people dancing and too little chairs, and obviously, and who paid the price? You cannot imagine. The ordinary citizens paid the price. People were evicted from their homes. Families were evicted from their homes to pay for those speculators. So it became clear that without proper integration between the financial sector and the real sector, a disaster will come again and again and again and again. Basel III reflects this fundamental direction. And if you read the document of Basel III, the first few pages, the first 2 pages, you think these 2 pages were taken out of an Islamic banking book. You cannot believe that, hey, Basel Committee wrote this. Basel Committee said banks should be serving the real economy. That became, now it became a universal principle. So all these developments, like the digital banking, cryptocurrencies, aim at closing the gap between the financial domain and the economic domain. That is the trend. Now, of course, you will find some deviations here and there, but that is the trend. So to the extent, and one important, or a few important aspects of this is transparency, governance. You have to be transparent to show where the money is going, what kind of activity this money is supporting. And that is obviously, all these are principles of Islamic finance. So, you see, if you think about it, simply money for money, okay, which is the riba contract or even gambling. Money for money means you don't know what was in between. Obviously, money cannot generate money by itself. It has to go somewhere through the economy in order to generate revenue, in order to pay the interest. But the contract would prevent the disclosure of where the money was used. So and we are moving away from this. The cryptocurrency, for example, the Bitcoin was created as a reaction to the global financial crisis and how the banks were operating as, preventing the information from being available to the public. So, of course, we can debate about Bitcoin, but the concept of blockchain and the concept of using digital currencies to disclose the information, to decentralize the process, this is a revolution. And it is perfectly in line with the principles of Islamic finance. So I see the future in general moving in that direction. To the extent that we are, adapting to that, I think we will be able to move or to contribute much value. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sami. Perhaps before moving to another question, we open the floor if there are any questions for the panel, because we still have 13 minutes left, so we want really to hear maybe from the audience so that we can... okay. Yes, brother.
I don't want to take over the floor, but I have to introduce myself every time. Okay, my name is Mohammed Minhaj. I am from Silicon Valley, technology center of the world. And we're talking about the crypto and digital currencies and digital banks and all of that. I don't think the traditional banks will ever accept cryptocurrency because they cannot monitor and they cannot regulate. That's my opinion. Coming to the journey of the Islamic finance, I mean, I've witnessed it in Malaysia. I've been there for many years. I was the technology advisor to Dr. Mahathir Mohamad of Malaysia, and I built their microchip design industry with a benefit of $32 billion. And now I'm working on climate change and food security to build as 2 new industries for the OIC member countries. So that's my background. Now, in terms of what is missing, the missing element for the Islamic finance and the companies that are coming up in emerging technologies, lack of venture funds. And that is the element that is missing so far that I see in ISDB's entire picture. And how do we address that? I hope that there are some good answers for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I missed what's missing. He said exactly what's missing. The
gap is venture funds.
Venture funds.
How to finance ideas and seed level, mezzanine level, and first round, second round, third round level
Very
companies.
Good. I got you. So
yes, thank you.
So I'd like to answer that I would like to emphasize on Dr. Sami's point when it comes to the blockchain technology and what's happening in crypto assets and how does that help to flourish the Islamic banking world. As you know, the origin of Islamic banking is contractual and it's asset-based. And that's all about tokenized assets, and that's all about the blockchain, the smart contracts. So we have built in the bank the first blockchain-based smart contracts to have to even change and reshape the Islamic finance. I give you an idea. Today, banks, when you go and finance a car, first of all, you finance a car through ijara. In our way, we think we will change this to a wakala, because in tokenized assets, if the car is tokenized as a value, the customer can go online, buy the car, give me my commission in installments, and so on and so forth. So to get to the VC concept, I think it's very important to understand how we as Islamic banks embrace blockchain technology to get to the peer-to-peer. So the decentralized ledger will help definitely to get end users, the provider of cash or money, and the other side, the business or the accelerator. And that can only happen if you put both together using AI-based technologies and using accelerators away from banking systems, board members, committees, and all the cost. So I think you are right. VCs are missing. I think they're missing because of transparency and because of complexities. Once these are decentralized and once our tokenization happening, CBG says in 2030 we will have $60 trillion tokenized assets. And I think with simplified tokenized assets, this will accelerate VCs, will accelerate people to understand the tokens away from the bad cryptocurrencies like the Bitcoin, which has no real value and is affecting the economies in a negative way. I wanted to answer you in a different way, from a technology, from embracing blockchain, rather than focusing and getting money as a traditional VC. That's from my point of view.
Thank you, Brother Basim. Yes, Ufuk Bey, go ahead.
Regarding the venture capital, yeah, this is a valid question. And in Turkey, for example, the Islamic banks started to fintechs, you know, there are fintechs, and for the finance of that, fintechs established some incubation centers. As Kuwait Turk, we have an incubation center, and we are investing in these type of new fintech companies through venture capital. Plus, there is Mudaraba and Musharaka developing nowadays. After long years, now the legislation is available, and now as Kuwait Turk, our Mudaraba and Musharaka activities increasing significantly. So there are venues for venture capital nowadays in Turkey also.
Thank you, Ufuk Bey. And yes. We have exactly 7 minutes, so...
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. I'm Manwar Hussain. I'm the chairman of Bangladesh Finance Limited from Bangladesh. My question is, do you think equity over debt is closer to the philosophy of Islamic finance? That was my question, and my question would be to Dr.
Thank you. We'll take a second question as well at the back, and so that we give to the panelists.
Thank you very much. My name is Omar Davis, and I'm a country manager here at the Islamic Development Bank. I'm originally from the United States, and I know that I have raised these issues in the past, that in the United States, it's like the elephant in the room. $25 trillion economy. There's no dedicated Islamic bank. They have windows in some banks. What can we do to be more on the offensive? Because if we're relying on only Muslims to be the customers of the bank, then we may not make it. But I think if we can convince people that the value proposition of Islamic banking is in their interest, then it might cross over, and maybe non-Muslims can participate in Islamic banking. So how can we be more on the offensive?
Thank you. Thank you. Last question there. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I would like to start by commending ISDB and all the partners for the kind support they are providing in the development of Islamic finance. My name is Haruna Musa. I'm the MD CEO of Jaiz Bank, which is the first Islamic bank in Nigeria. Today, honestly, I've listened to very interesting conversation. Nigeria is one of the biggest countries in Africa with about 220 million population. We have the biggest economy in Africa, about $500 billion. We have over 120 million Muslims, but again, we have only 4 Islamic banks, and we account for only 1% of the total assets of banking industry in Nigeria. So honestly, we have a very long way to go. I'm really impressed by the rapid progression of Kuwait Talk Bank. That's why I'm really impressed. I'm quite excited to find out how we can also use similar strategy so that we can be able to upscale. If all of us account for only 1%, that means, honestly, we are very inconsequential in spite of the huge potentials. I'm also very excited about the fintech technology by Maria Community Bank. Again, I believe a combination of these two, should give us the impetus to see the rapid growth in Islamic banking that we so desire. So honestly, I would like to, if you can share your perspectives, yes, so that it will be a guidance to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Not to be scolded by the MC, we still have exactly 4 minutes to address the questions. So maybe just one intervention, and then we can take it offline, because I think they will need the whole. But the purpose really of this gathering and the entire IDB gathering is very much for this type of bilateral meetings where really our partners benefit from each other's experience and do business basically and see how they can help each other. So maybe one question that you think, perhaps maybe the question of, because Brother Omar, he was mentioning that the bank is only for Muslims. Actually, none of the bank is only for Muslims. And actually, all the banks that are established, they are universal. And you will be surprised, for instance, the bank that in which we invested in Bosnia is very much a flagship bank that is dealing with all customers regardless of their faith. I mean, it's very much a customer experience. If you offer the right customer experience, people will come to you. Also, some of the biggest beneficiary companies of Islamic finance, so either trade and others, are actually non-Muslims in countries like Malaysia or others. So it's very much a universal model. It's only basically the regulation of it that has to respect the Sharia, but it's very much about ethical finance. It's very much inclusive, and that's really the branding of Islamic finance. So this is very much important. I don't know, Dr. Sami or any of you who wants to take one of the questions, because we have 2 minutes, and then we...
So basically, again, I want to stress, I think technology will help us to globalize our products. As you know, when a non-Muslim goes to an Islamic bank, he wouldn't want to do the bureaucracies and the paperwork, the agreements. And I think, yes, the future of Islamic banking is very, very crucial if it embraces digital experience and take the opportunities of the robo-advisors, of the robo-traders. ISDB can play a catalyst role in taking the Islamic banking to the next level if it allows AI-based solution where opportunities can be magnified on the level of the banks and at the level between merchants and end users. So I think this is where we see the role of maybe ISDB in the future and how Islamic banking can grow from here.
Thank you very much. I think we will conclude with a word of thanks to the panelists and the keynote speaker, to the audience as well for really being patient. I know it's really around lunchtime and there are multiple sessions around, but the session is actually online. There are, as I hear from our colleagues, there is a great interest from many people globally online. Also, a word of thanks really to all the colleagues who helped us organize this panel, and also all the colleagues and also the host and co-organizer of the IDB annual event, i.e. Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and IDB for this really memorable and remarkable Golden Jubilee that it has a lot of historical significance. Actually, the first IDB annual meeting took place in this same hotel back in 1975. So that's why we're holding it here, and the thematic is around this, because we have to be proud of our really sort of past and our culture, and we should really think that way in terms of dealing with Islamic finance. We are not a niche market, we are a mainstream market, as it was highlighted by Wasim and yesterday Dr. Mohiuddin on one of his sessions. And really, we need really to think out of the box. Dr. Sami today was talking, Basel III is very much, inspired from our code of ethics. So these are really the takeaway points that we take from this session, and we'll be happy really to answer anything on the side, and please exchange business cards. And thank you for also the technical staff, and we end our session. Thank you.